don't know for how long you've been following me, but if it's not that much, you need to know that before everything you see now, of course, neurolanguage coaching in English for Italian professionals, I was Idiomas con Cris. I know, Idiomas con Cris. I was teaching Spanish here on Instagram and on TikTok because I was still living in Italy and my dream was exactly this, moving to Spain, in particular to Valencia. So it was like my way of talking about Spanish and Spain before making the move. Even though this profile was dedicated to Spanish, I was already talking about English and what I was reading, for example, in English, because English is just who I am. It's part of my personality. It's part of my identity. It's like, I just can't. Like, Cristina, without English, not Cristina. If you analyze my free time, for example, you could see that it's basically 70% in English. I would say then maybe 20%, 25% in Spanish, and then 5% in Italian. But honestly, it's like English, it's like my entire world. That is why, of course, when I realized that I was actually living in Spain, like my dream came true, I didn't feel the need to kind of teach Spanish and talk about Spanish over here because, yes, I like it. It's part of my passion for languages and it's my life. Like, I live in Spain. Of course, I love Spanish, but it's not quite it for me. It doesn't cut it. For example, talking about my job, of course, I prefer teaching, coaching English because English is part of another family of languages. It's very different, very distant from Italian. That is why you need a more specific and tailored, brain-friendly approach because for your brain, it's more challenging to think in English, to process information like an English native speaker. While with Spanish, it's way easier because Spanish is like Italian sister. They're very similar. For your brain, it's way easier because it can actually leverage the Italian patterns it already has to learn Spanish. That is why I mainly worked for English academies, native speakers English academies. That is why I worked more in English than in Spanish or Italian. Of course, I just went all in with English. I wanted to share like the real, honest experience that I had and the why behind what I do and what you see here, because so many of you have been following me for so much time. Actually, you were here when I was Idiomas con Cris, and many of you, of course, are new and you don't know that part. You don't know me from that period of my life, but it's still part of who I am because thanks to that period, of course, I fell in love with social media and creating content for you.